Welcome back. Today is Friday, Philosophy Friday, but it's also, more importantly, maybe, the first day of 2016. So happy New Year. I hope this year fills you up. So this year, rather than making a resolution as I have for the last 5 years, I decided I was going to have a theme instead. Something that isn't quite is finite and indefinite as a resolution. There's not failure built into the system, but rather like a guiding star. Something that I can keep turning to over and over and over again. And so my theme for the year is to live with an open heart. How can I live with more love, more intention, more integrity, more compassion? How can I live from my heart better, more successfully, more consciously? And a lot of people poo-poo resolutions, but the last 5 years, I've had a conscious buying resolution, and I had to make a little game up for myself so that I would follow it and I would stick with it. And it's to be aware of my spending, to be aware of the things that I'm buying. Americans consume 5 times more than the next highest consuming country. That's astounding. We buy shit to buy shit. It's just like little piddly stuff that will just end up in the landfill. Fancy gift bags and wrapping and all of this stuff. So over the past 5 years, I've kept track of these things so that I would be aware year end, sit down and really look at all of the things that I bought. And it's not just disposable stuff. It's stuff like clothes, makeup, fancy lotions, all of these things that I don't really need. So what that's done is it's given me a big picture over the course of a few years, and it's helped me to do things like make my own lotion, make my own lip balm, things these are consumables. I'm buying the products to make them, but it also keeps me out of that place where I'm like, ooh, I need this new lip gloss, this new color. Ooh, I need that. I really don't need any of it. And that's been wonderful for me. So I really admire people that make resolutions, because I feel like if we don't have a goal, if we don't have something that we're aiming for, we're kind of just like out there floating around, right? So this year I'm hoping that having a theme will be something that will help me consciously make better decisions. Rather than making a judgment, be compassionate. To lend somebody a hand rather than criticism. How can I support my friends and family in what they're doing by truly being present? Not offering advice, not trying to fix them, but just by listening. So that's my theme. If you are a fellow resolutor, leave a comment below and let me know what you're hoping to achieve this year. I think it's important to have a goal. So this morning, as I do most mornings, as I sat down to read, and I had been reading a couple of psychology books, and I studied psychology, and I've always studied it. So for me, that's kind of like work. It's like homework. And I didn't want to start my new year that way. I wanted to start with something that was inspiring. So I grabbed a book that I've been wanting to read for a while. Can you see this? Big Magic by Elizabeth Gilbert. I love this woman. I know that from studying psychology, I know that we like what's familiar. And so this woman's path and my path have been so similar that I identify with her process. I identify with her perspective. I identify with her vulnerability so much. And I'm not the only one. She has an amazing, tremendous following. For those of you that might not be really familiar with her, she wrote the best-selling book Eat, Pray, Love, and they also made a movie from it. So she's fantastic. So I've been wanting to read this for a while, but I had Seligman and Aaron and some other books on my desk, and I like to finish, 2 or 3. I usually read 2 or 3 at a time. I like to finish them before I allow myself to indulge in a novel or something that's a little more juicy. So I picked up Big Magic, and the first page, I've got to read this to you, right after the dedication made me stop and sit there and stare at the Christmas tree for like 10 minutes to just think about how would I define creativity. Here's how Elizabeth defines it. Question: what is creativity? Answer: the relationship between a human being and the mysteries of inspiration. Oh, her writing is gorgeous. But that's, for any of you that are creatives, that will resonate with you. It resonated certainly with me. So I'm going to read you a little segment of this part of the first chapter. I didn't get any further before I thought of you and had to share. Like, this is just Philosophy Friday in the making. So I'm going to read the first part of this chapter. I'll skip the majority of it and I'll just summarize it really quickly, and then I'll read the last part. Hidden treasure. Once upon a time, there was a man named Jack Gilbert, who is not related to me, unfortunately for me. Jack Gilbert was a great poet, but if you've never heard of him, don't worry about it. It's not your fault. He never much cared about being known, but I knew about him, and I loved him dearly from a respectful distance. So let me tell you about him. And she goes on to tell Jack's story. And although their paths did not cross physically, Elizabeth came to know Jack because she took his former teaching position and inherited his students. She goes on to write, I decided to know him only that way, through my imagination. And that's where he remains, for me, to this day, still alive inside of me, completely internalized, almost as though I dreamed him up. But I will never forget what the real Jack Gilbert told somebody else, an actual flesh and blood person, a shy University of Tennessee student. This young woman recounted to me that one afternoon, after his poetry class, Jack had taken her aside. He complimented her work, then he asked what she wanted to do with her life. Hesitantly, she admitted that perhaps she wanted to be a writer. He smiled at the girl with infinite compassion, and he asked, do you have the courage? Do you have the courage to bring forth this work? The treasures that are hidden inside of you are hoping you will say yes. I've read that so many times, and every time I tear up. What a beautiful teacher. Okay, so then the next section, Elizabeth continues, and she writes, so this, I believe, is the central question upon which all creative living hinges. Do you have the courage to bring forth the treasures that are hidden within you? And that's today's question for Philosophy Friday. Leave your questions, leave your comments, leave your love mail, hate mail, whatever mail down below in the comment section, and feel free to join in the dialogue with one another. That's the beautiful part of this channel, is not only that I get to see your beautiful selves, but that you share yourselves with one another. So yeah, what do you have to say about that? I hope you have a wonderful day. Thanks for being here, and I'll see you next time.